Memories. What are they like? Are your memories reliable or not? This is what I wanted to find out because, as you may have seen in my last video, I told an old hilarious story about a cycling trip that went very wrong, very near to the start of the trip. If you haven't watched that, I highly recommend you go and watch it now because I'm going to be referencing things in that, and I don't want to tell the whole story again from my point of view, because what I'm doing in this video is I got a couple people who were involved. Obviously Jonny was heavily involved in that trip and that story as well, and also Alex, who was a colleague of mine that I was working with and he came to help. So I want to see if my memory of that story was accurate. Well, I think it's accurate, but I want to see if it would match up to what they thought happened. I'm gonna play clips from Alex and Jonny, some bits so like be like cut and stuff because they are largely pretty similar, but there are some key things that I want to discuss from their points which I'll kind of cut to, and some of the bits will look like it's cut, but it's just because I'm cutting out a lot of like ums and ahs and stuff like that. Which I think is fair enough. Oh my god, I just did it. I've also noticed how much I say like, and it really upsets me.
Hello. Let's try that again. I just shot pretty much half of this in the wrong angle, basically. And I knew that if I completed it, Ryan was going to kill me and make me do it all again. So I just decided to cut out the middleman and go straight for it. So, let's go from the top.
Right, so first of all, the fact that Jonny has filmed it like this is just hilarious. The first thing he did was filmed it the wrong way around, which he then thankfully did go back and do it landscape. Not that, to be honest, it made much difference. He still looks like a Goomba.
Hello.
And he's like looking down and you can see the ceiling, and that just, to me, you know, you shouldn't really be able to see like the ceiling as the main part of your shot. And I don't understand, this guy is a doctor, he does conferences, he should know better than to film on his phone like this. Jonny's camera skills is a bit of a thing between us because we've made films together, and I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent here. In 2006, I think when we were like 16, we made this film called Full Month. It's like 50 minutes long, it's a werewolf film, it is what it is. It's actually great, but no one else should watch it. When we were filming it, we were in my dad's basement, and the scene was that I walk in with a giant candelabra thing and an afro, which is highly dangerous now that I think about it. Jonny is like filming, but he's on a raised ledge bit, so he's like looking down. I kind of came in and he was sort of like, we needed to do the take again. When I looked back at the videos, not only is he like filming in complete darkness, but he's also filming the fucking ceiling. He's high up and filming at that, and he's whispering to himself stuff like, I've got no idea where he is. Is that him?
I've no idea where you are. Oh, there we go. Wait, it's quite hard. No, that's not you, is it? The hell is that?
What?
Wait.
Okay.
Oh, right. There you are. I was filming the ceiling. I couldn't see where you were coming in because the light was gone. Right, okay.
Take two. Filming the ceiling's a bit of a history there, and I'm saddened to see that, you know, 15 years later, Jonny's camera skills have maybe got worse.
So you think you're up for the job, Tommy boy? That slap means yes.
Why was I living in Paris? I was not living in Paris at the time. I don't know if Ryan remembers this. I had been living in Paris and I was doing a language course there in French at the Alliance Française to basically piss about for a month in Paris. It was good fun. And try and learn a bit of French, and I don't remember any French now, so maybe it worked for a while, but not anymore.
I don't really know why he's disputing that we were living in Paris, although maybe he did actually leave before me, like a bit before me, but I definitely remember that there was like a week where like I moved back to Glasgow and I was back for a week and then came back with the bikes and stuff. So he's largely the same. I'll give him that, you know, whatever, that's fine, but it's largely the same version. Let's move on.
So, like pretty much every other bike journey, we did pretty much no planning. We planned how to get our bikes there. We planned a 3-word strategy after that, which was escape from Paris. Our objective, get to Berlin. What happened to the tent poles? Now, this is a sneaky one by Ryan, because over the years we have been blaming each other for who lost the tent poles. And I'm about to tell you the truth. Basically, just before we set off to load up our bikes, pack our bikes away and all our stuff away to prepare for the plane journey, we realised that the tent we owned that we'd bought for a previous trip to go around Scotland was missing a vital piece, the tent poles. We looked about frantically. The rest of the tent was in Ryan's dad's basement, funnily enough. Just saying. He insists the tent poles were with me. The tent was all together. And he lost them. End of story. So what did we end up doing? We ended up borrowing our friend Kev's tent poles, who luckily came to the rescue. I don't know how they fit our tent, actually. That doesn't make much sense. How is that? I don't think he had the same tent as us. Very weird.
These tent poles, right? Honestly, we came back from the trip. We went to La Bodega and we had a bit of a piss up, and we put the bikes in the back room. I think what actually happened was that we lost the tent poles there, and then they just got lost in La Bodega, and they're probably in rubble somewhere. So, maybe he's right actually, because the tent, it's weird that we didn't check, but the tent was in my dad's basement, and I'm gonna admit that it was my responsibility to check, so I'm sorry, Johnny, about the tent poles. It is weird though that you think that we borrowed tent poles from Kevin when clearly we just borrowed his tent. How could we have taken his poles and made them fit? I mean, that's just mental to think that. So yeah, thanks again, Kevin, for your tent, but not for just the poles, which apparently we broke and then never fixed. So actually, I'm just really sorry, Kevin, that we essentially just borrowed the tent from you, broke it and gave it back.
My version of getting hit and what happened next. I love how he puts your version, my version is the version. You're about to hear the truth laid down. We're cycling along, Ryan's in front of me. There's quite a bit of traffic. So I think what happened was it was quite tight on the other side of the coach. So I think it was looking at a car that was trying to pass going the other way or in the other lane, and had to make room basically. So it started pulling in towards the curb. So it clips me, not a huge wham. It just comes in enough, I can't stop in time, and it clips me. So I go down, doesn't hurt at all, it's just falling sideways. It's not a huge crash or anything like that. Ryan comes back, he's saying, "Are you alright, man?" "Yeah, I'm fine." A couple people came over and asked if I was okay, and I was like, yeah, fine. Ryan comes back, he basically looks down and he goes, "Holy shit, man, look at your ankle." So I looked down at my ankle, couldn't feel anything at this point, so I didn't realise there was anything to look at. I looked down at my ankle and there's blood just going like an arterial bleeding. I've never seen it in person before, so I gave Ryan a reassuring, "Oh shit," yeah. Leaned down and put my thumb in the hole where the blood was coming out. And it did the trick, it stopped the bleeding. In the aftermath, we sat at the side of the road, just taking it easy. We got out some bandages and we started bandaging basically to keep the blood from flowing, and it was fine.
So Johnny's perspective of getting hit and stuff, that all matches, that all makes sense. I think we both are pretty clear. I do remember hearing a big crash, which he doesn't think there was, or he just sort of fell over, but the bike does make a huge noise when it hits the ground, and so something alerted me to him doing that. Maybe it was actually just hitting into the car that I heard a big crash, but it's interesting that he doesn't say that he thinks he heard that. What I don't remember at all is people coming to help us, or they'll now. it definitely jogged my memory, him saying that people came over and we were just like, "Ugh!" But like, instead of being like, yes, we need help, we were like, no, it's fine. This is fine. It's so weird actually why we didn't ask for help. I think it was just like panicked. So like, rather than these people who are here, I'll phone the pub and ask for help. So let's jump to see what Alex was saying.
So Jonny and Ryan are about to set off on this big cycling trip from Paris up to Germany. And they'd come to the bar that I was working in and that Ryan used to work in, and had a couple of beers, and then we cheered them off, and they set off down the street. They were really excited. We were all really excited for them. And then we just got back to work. I was waiting tables on the terrace, and about 5 minutes later, Ryan comes sprinting back down the street. He looked like he'd seen a ghost, like wide-eyed, terrified. And he just said to me, Johnny's been hit by a bus, and I don't know what to do. And I'll always remember that moment. It was awful.
That is not correct.
This is total nonsense because I did not come back to the pub. I phoned him, which is also confirmed by Jonny.
Ryan phoned one of his ex-colleagues there.
It's so strange because he's like remembering this like shock and fear and stuff, which is something I talked to him about, where he told me that when I phoned him, he was like freaked out by the kind of shock in my voice and I sounded really scared, and I was like, come and help us and stuff. But he's, over time, over the 8 years, he's merged this version where he thinks that I came back to the pub, and he's talking about seeing the shock in my face, which is just like completely fabricated. But it's so interesting that he remembers that. My interest has been piqued by memory.
He just seemed so helpless and scared. So I put down my tray of glasses, and the two of us both sprinted down the avenue, got back to the pub, and I think had another beer. And then they managed to sort it out, and they set off again 2 days later.
Again, Alex remembers us having beers before going to the pub, which, as much as I think that would be the kind of thing that we would do, I think in this case we were just like, we need to get to the hospital.
The hospital was interesting actually, because yeah, I don't know, I think in foreign countries, maybe it's just people who speak English, they always expect someone in a hospital to speak quite good English at the reception and everywhere else. Luckily, Ryan had been living in Paris for about a year by this point, so he could get by in some French and managed to kind of do some translation for me. So we kind of figured out where we had to wait, we thought, but it was so unclear and it took so long. I thought NHS waiting times were pretty long, but it seemed worse there. Maybe it's just because we had no idea what was going on.
Apart from Johnny's like weird thing where he's sort of saying that everyone in hospitals should just like know English even if you're in a different country, it's hilarious that he's like saying that it was fine because I was there because I could speak French, which was true, but he'd also been there for like 2 months to learn French and couldn't do the basics.
And I was doing a language course there in French at the Alliance Française.
That is just ridiculous. But what's really interesting about this is I have almost like zero memory about being in the hospital. Like I don't remember anything he's talking about there. In my mind, he went in almost like alone, but that's clearly not true because he's saying that I spoke to the reception and got him into the emergency room or something. How strange. How very strange.
About us going out the next night. This one, I do not quite remember this bit, to be honest. Did we go out? The next night, I do not remember going out, to be honest. I do not remember going out the next night.
I love that Jonny can't remember that we went out because it's so imprinted in my mind, his reaction of being like, absolutely no way am I staying in, I'm coming out. I'm coming. I was like, no, you should not come because like you got hit by a bus and you cut an artery in your foot and you need to like rest. He's like, Ryan, I'm coming out. And clearly I've got the photo evidence to prove it. So I think probably part of the reason he doesn't remember is just like It's probably partly shock from after the accident, and also because he was absolutely pissed, like we all were. So, you know, that also affects your memories. Heavy drinking. So there you go. I hope you've enjoyed my little experiment about memory to see what 3 different people thought about the same thing. Largely the same, but some key parts were completely different, which is interesting how it's morphed and changed over time. What stands out to me is that like there's so many details I can take from it, which I think because it was such a like shocking thing that happened, that it imprints much more than something that you can like mundane day to day. Like I can't remember half of what I did yesterday because it was just like a normal day, but that was like such an extreme situation that I remember like much more about it. But still, over time, parts of it have like shifted and changed, and parts of it are like completely gone, like the hospital stuff. And Jonny can't remember us going out, and Alex remembers me like coming to see him rather than me actually like phoning him. So that's about it. I feel like we've resolved some stuff about the polls, so we can move on from that. Jonny left a little message at the end, which I'll just let it play, and you can decide what you think based on what he says at the end here.
Now, I just want to say one more thing, because I know what Ryan's going to do. He's gonna get a couple of perspectives from people on what they remember, and then he'll say, no, this is what actually happened. But how can you trust that viewer? How do you know his is the correct one and ours is not the real one? Memory.
Thank you very much for watching. If you like this, please leave a comment, especially if you'd like more of this kind of stuff. I'm still working on the big 6-month trip videos, which will be coming maybe soon. There's so much footage. So if you want to keep watching this kind of stuff, make sure you subscribe. And I just want to say thanks again to Jonny and Alex for taking part in this. It was fun to get them to record it, and I hope I didn't roast Jonny too much, even though he deserves everything he gets.
A little German doctor, like GP's office, took him out for free. He was like, what the fuck's going on? Yeah. And just gave us free. So that was cool.